Hi there. Ooh, wow, I've still got a frog in my throat. Hi there, I'm Ray, and as per my name, I love to read. Now, my parents are currently out at a concert, which Dad described as a group that's kind of like the Rasmus, but more proggy. So, and he didn't understand why I found that funny. And I thought it's a bit like saying, oh, they're like Oasis, but with more jazz. You know what I mean? But yeah, so they're out, and I'm here. I'm supposed to be tidying. I was tidying up, but obviously every time I tidy, I come across books, and then I start thinking about books, and then I start talking about books, and here we are. So I thought I would share a few books that have an aesthetic that I really like. And I thought at first it was Victorian style books, but I realised that a lot of the books that I think of as being kind of either Victorian or Gothic are from completely different time periods, and it's basically just that they've got a really cool cover that's kind of lured me in. So the ones I'm going to show you, obviously I initially thought of as being Victoriana, but they're actually from all over the place. So the one I'm reading at the moment, and this is one that I'm actually struggling to hold up because I'm about 40% of the way through probably. I picked this one up from Goldsborough, and it's called Ordinary Monsters. And I thought this would be right up my street because it's a wide-sweeping, far too long, completely chaotic Victorian fantasy sci-fi sort of thing. Part of a trilogy. This one's the first one apparently. And it's all over the place and really ambitious, and the sort of thing I find irresistible. And my main problem is that I can't hold it up. I was actually thinking about getting a Kindle version just so that I could read through it without injuring my wrists, because I'm a bit flimsy. But I'm also finding it quite difficult to concentrate on, because one of my favourite books, The Glass Books of the Dream Eaters, has I would describe it in a similar way. So it's kind of a Victorian adventure novel with different points of view, supernatural stuff going on, and yeah. So that's one of my favourite books. Every time I read it, it gets a little bit more problematic, but that's just it's not that bad, I don't think. And this one is, we were promised not an orphanage, but like an institute for kids with special powers. And I'm 40% of the way through and we're not at the institute yet. And I thought we were going to get to the institute, but then we go back 10 years in time and we're looking at something completely different. So I'm finding it a little bit frustrating so far. But there's something very charming about it still, and I'm still looking forward to finding out how it pans out. But I've got a load of other books that kind of are on what I would say on the same kind of vibe. So let me see what I've got. So this one I particularly want to read. It's called The Turnglass, and my understanding, this was a Goldsborough pick. I don't think it was the sci-fi and fantasy one. I think it was the Premier Club, which is mainly literary fiction. But it's pretty cool because it turns upside down, and then there's another story. So like half the book is one way up, the other half is the other way up, and I don't think it matters which way you read it. I have read a book with that kind of, I was going to say gimmick, but that's a bit unfair, that kind of mechanism before, which was an Ali Smith one. It was called, I don't remember. Half of it was about a painter, the other half was about a girl who'd lost her mother. And it was very well written and it was very interesting, and it would have been a completely different reading experience if you'd read it the other way around. Yeah, it was fantastic and really worked for me. But so this one I think is more of a mystery novel. And I just love, I think I'm trying to figure out what these books have in common. It's got a big Gothic house on the front. An hourglass is kind of an archaic kind of piece of equipment, all of that kind of thing. One's set in the 1930s, one in the 1800s, and I'm really, really excited about it. It's my sort of thing, and again, we've got edges. And I've got, I'm sure sprayed edges weren't even a thing about 15 years ago. But every time I see a book with sprayed edges now, I just get overexcited. It's ridiculous. So yeah, so that's one of them. This is another one that the cover particularly drew me in. And I think I've got a hardback one of this as well, but this one was actually sent to me as part of the Rare Birds book club either a month or two ago. And it's about a medium who is in Victorian society. And basically it's about rival mediums and things like that. So she hires a young protege to spice up her show. But does her new pupil pose more of a threat to Mrs. Wood's reputation than she could ever have imagined? So I don't know if this is a murder mystery or not. It does sound like there's going to be kind of mystery elements to it. But again, we've got candlesticks, we've got Victorian times, and it just tempted me. And I'm very excited, very excited to read that one. So that's definitely one to watch out for in coming months. This one you may recognise if you watch me unboxing things. Boat mystery! Historical boat mystery. Now, The Devil in the Dark Water by Stuart Turton was a big favourite of mine, so maybe I'm being a little bit swayed by that, because typically I absolutely hate books that are set on boats. But Robin Hobb and Her Live Ships, they've kind of turned me around a little bit on that. There's a Loch Lamora book set on a boat. That's pretty good. So yeah, I'm coming round. I think I'm trying to remember what my aversion to boats was initially, but I think it all stems back to when I was 10 years old and I read Treasure Island. And I thought it would be, I thought it would be good fun because I'd watched Muppet Treasure Island, which is one of the top 5 greatest films ever made. The top place of obviously being Muppet Christmas Carol, but it's up there still. And Tim Curry is amazing. So I thought it would be, I already know the story, so how difficult can it be to read? I did not understand a word of that book. I read every word, but none of it went in. And I think that's where I learned the difference between reading and actually kind of reading, because I heard all the words in my head, I just didn't know what they meant. And I think now I know most of the boat parts. I know how to say forecastle. I know vaguely what a gunwale is. Still can't tell you which way port and starboard are. But boat left, boat right. But so here we have Voyage of the Damned, which was a Lumicrate one, which means probably going to be some fantasy. So we have there's a killer and 12 magical blessings, 12 days at sea, 1 chance to stop a killer and save the world. So we've got fantasy, we've got boats, and we've got a beautiful cover that I simply couldn't resist. So that's going in the 100% going to read soon pile. What else do we have that tempted me with the cover? Again, it's got a bell on it. Again, we've got the kind of stuff that you would find in a Victorian house. And this one is about a heist. So, and we've got kind of an upstairs and downstairs kind of split. So I don't know if I'm being too optimistic in expecting kind of a Gosford Park type situation, because Gosford Park was an excellent film, very beautiful, and had all sorts of drama going on in it. So we've got upstairs, Madame is planning the party of the season. Downstairs, the servants are plotting the heist of the century. And as you'll know, I'm a sucker for a map. And look at this beauty. So, I mean, if you can figure out exactly what it is that attracts me to this sort of book, like I say, it's kind of historically, kind of Victorian-y, gothic-y, but they're not all Victorian, they're not all gothic, and they're not all mysteries, and they're not all, but I somehow kind of connect them in my head as ones that are my kind of aesthetic. So yeah, excited, mystery heist, lots of drama hopefully. And one more. Oh no, two more. I've got another one. Again, this is another Illumicrate. This is more haunted house rather than mystery house. And I just absolutely love the cover, and it's just very beautiful. and basically anything with a house. I mean, I can think of some terrible haunted house books I've read. Meddling Kids was pretty bad. That was a Scooby-Doo fan fiction, and I thought that would be amazing because Scooby-Doo fan fiction, but it was absolutely pants. Sorry, I'm trying to think of non-rude ways of describing it. Anyway, yeah, Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. Step into Starling House if you dare. And again, no particular time period, but I'm pretty sure Starling House won't have good internet access. So maybe that's the escapism, kind of days before when technology was less, this must be something slightly romantic about that. And finally, and I believe this is more of a fantasy take on covers that Ray found absolutely irresistible. This one's got it's got gothic towers, it's got an inkwell, a massive tome, magic. So yeah, this sounds brilliant, and it says exquisite sapphic fantasy, so that should be excellent. And political intrigue, and all sorts of stuff. And let's face it, I haven't even read the blurb. I just saw this kind of cover and knew it had to be mine. So yeah, and it's that aesthetic. Antiques, I think, maybe little antiques and dark colours and turrets. Any books that have those things on them are going to be right on my radar. In fact, this is actually balancing on a book trolley, and I've just seen another one that may kind of come under that kind of remit, although this one isn't really a hardback. The Library of the Dead. And this is very much kind of ghouls, grimoires, and ghost stalkers. And this is the first one of a trilogy, and the third one definitely had a cover very much like these, but obviously because I don't properly read the blurbs, and I just buy them based on kind of, wow, that's gorgeous, I must have it, in a kind of frenzied bibliomania. Didn't realise it was number 3 in the series. But that looks like, again, the same sort of thing. Secrets, libraries, ghosts, big gothic creaky houses full of secrets. It's all right up my street. So yeah, that's going to be my priority, I think, over the next couple of months, is reading things for pleasure, just reading things that I really want to read, trying to get some sunshine, trying to get some literary joy, and try to stop reading such serious books for a little bit, just to try and find some Victorian vibes. Anyway, I hope you all have a lovely week. Take care.